Hi there, welcome to Horror Score. I'm Vanessa, and this is my boyfriend. On today's show, we're...
Not going to introduce me at all besides just your boyfriend?
Oh, well.
Still not going to... Alright, and I am the co-host, Jesse Robitis.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, welcome to Horror Score, where every week we review another horror movie. This week, we have chosen a gem from the 374 bin at Walmart.
Looking Glass.
Okay.
It was my pick because it was really hard for me to resist seeing Nick Cage on a DVD that cost $3.74 that is in Raising, Arizona.
Nicolas Cage has the blackest beard of all time. I got taken out of the movie because his beard was dyed so black. But besides that, pretty run-of-the-mill story where Ray and Maggie, right, they buy a place and it's got a bad history. There's a really likable cop in the neighborhood.
But there is a clue to them stealing the Declaration of Independence.
Nope, different movie.
Different movie.
You can tell this is a different movie because Nicolas Cage has a black beard, a very black beard.
You know what, let's get into the scoring.
You sure? Right away?
Yeah, I would.
We don't want to talk about the plaid shirts that he wears? We
that
see a lot
can
of good
totally
plaid.
be covered in the story.
All right. Let's get to the scoring. We scored this movie on 5 categories, anywhere between 0 and 20 points per category. Our first category, story. What do you got?
I gave it a 6 because I wrote not exactly sure. There's a dead woman and Nicolas Cage buys a motel from a guy.
Story is kind of hard to follow.
Are they
for
related?
Me.
I don't know. Did he inherit it from this uncle who's now on the lam?
He definitely bought it. But let me tell you one thing that we do. We make sure that we are not on our phones doing social media stuff. We're actively watching every second of this movie, and I felt a long way through it. Movie was hard to follow in the sense that as a good film, it wasn't giving us enough clues. It was just sort of a bunch of scenes of Nicolas Cage and his wife, and at every turn, when they were like, oh, there's about to be a sex scene or some nudity, and you're like, well, at least there's this, because the movie's about a guy spying on people through a two-way mirror in a hotel room.
I'll say, the real reason, it wasn't just because it was Nicolas Cage. The first sentence on the back of this movie is, a psychosexual thriller following a couple that buys an old motel in the desert looking for a new beginning. But what seemed at first as an escape is soon a thrilling ride through a mysterious world.
Box art's good though. The back of it looks pretty good.
There's no boobs.
I gave this movie a 9 out of 20 in that category. We're going to move on to category number 2. Villain, antagonist.
Okay. I wrote a 4. I wasn't exactly sure. The movie was kind of set up or tried to be like a murder mystery kind of thing, and they did it wrong. I don't think the writer himself figured out who the bad guy was supposed to be. They were just filming scenes,
and they're like, it's going to blow everybody away. Yeah. I felt that way too. I gave it a 6, just because the villain at some point had some cooler scenes in the movie where you're like, oh, okay, this person's all right. You don't know who the killer is till the end. We're not going to spoil it. But the whole time you're like, I mean, is this all in his head? Is there really a killer? Is anyone else going to die? That takes us to our next category, horror, where I had a problem with this because there was, what, 1 death?
Yeah.
1 death, like no scares, maybe 1 jump scare.
I gave it a 4.
I also gave it a 4. Not much of a horror movie, definitely a thriller, but the horror factor...
I wouldn't even say definitely a thriller. I wasn't thrilled.
Yeah, I also, unfortunately, was not super thrilled. It's a 1 watch for me. Just it's a 1 watch.
I wrote under horror, pretty vanilla for how sexy the box sounded.
Next category, artistry, is my highest category.
Or media.
I gave it an 11 out of 20 because there was some okay set designs. The music was decent at some points.
I gave it a 14. Set design and like the music was cool and fit the scene, but really there were some interesting shots that there was clearly an artist behind the camera who was feeling very stifled by the lack of plot and action in the movie, so they did their best to spice up the movie with some really neat, attractive shots.
Well,
what was that, Stevens?
Yeah, the cats also did enjoy the movie.
I agree. I also think that Nicolas Cage doesn't age.
Last category, S Factor. This is extra bonus points for campiness, originality, nudity, humor, star power, and I think that's where this got most of the points from me. I did give it 9 out of 20. It was nice seeing Nicolas Cage. He's been doing a lot of movies lately.
I gave it an 11, and Stevens would like to give him more points.
He just gives it 6 meows.
Okay, six meows. Yeah, because Nicolas Cage. That's it.
Well, that puts me to a grand total of 39 points. What about you?
I also gave it 39 points. Now we grade these blind.
Separate from each other.
And so that's what was so fun whenever we both came up with the same number on this one.
There are no animals harmed in this movie. There is a pig corpse at one point. No spoilers there. But there is I believe it's a real life pig corpse. I don't think they went out of their way to make a fake one for a scene.
I feel like it would be a lot more difficult to do the fake pig corpse.
Yeah, so there is a real pig corpse on camera. If you are looking for any kind of way to screen out seeing things like that, there is actually a dead pig. So that's how we've rated it. That is the movie. Watch it if you want.
I have on my sentence thing.
Oh, that's right.
So for my little one sentence synopsis for this movie, yes, I am wearing my looking glasses for Looking Glass the movie. Anyway, so I wrote here, Nick Cage buys a motel and attempts to watch women having sex because his wife is always sleeping, sees a murder instead.
And again,
she was always sleeping. There was not a scene.
She slept a lot. She was depressed, I think. Well, that about wraps things up. 39 out of 100. That's the horror score review of Looking Glass.
Yeah, I think we just successfully saved you an hour and a half of your life, so you're welcome.
All right, that's about it. So say goodbye, Vanessa.
Goodbye, Vanessa. Stay spooky.